DS. Hey Dutch, what did you think of Terrence Taylor, aka Terry Taylor, in the York Foundation in WCW? I personally think that was a great character for him, coming to the ring in a suit and looking very confident in himself and his abilities. After the horrible Red Rooster gimmick, also the York Foundation was underrated stable with the talent they had. What are your thoughts on the group? Do you remember the York Foundation with Alexandra York, aka?
Well, they could have done something with it had they concentrated on it, but they didn't really concentrate on it. So if they'd have taken Terry Taylor and pushed him like he is different from all the rest of them, and then take one of those underneath guys and him and the girl, they beat the crap out of them. Then they disappear for 2 weeks and come back. Now they got an issue. So, but as it was, they didn't have any patience. And patience is everything. Unless you have patience, you're just going to get a couple matches. You beat a guy up, and the guy comes back to get a comeback, and it never really works out the way you want it.
I like that. Terrence Taylor, the computerized man of the 90s. So, best I remember, it was Terry Runnels was the manager, and apparently she put into a computer the opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and the computer would come up with an answer of how to defeat said wrestler. And the answer always seemed to be, this is the computer speaking, pick me up and bash me over the head of your opponent. And that seemed to be the finish every single time. And
it probably worked.
Yeah, it worked every time. If they didn't get caught, it was great. As far as that, it was an awful faction. It was like crap. Michael Wall Street, Richard Morton. It's like, here's something I want to mention to you.
Who was Richard Morton?
Morton.
Morphine?
Not morphine, Morton. Ricky
Morton.
Yeah, it's Ricky Morton. But this is one of his brief heel runs.
Yeah.
Which also, I saw a video with you recently where like an unshaved Ricky Morton is a bad guy with you. And you're a bad guy team in like Continental or something like that.
Memphis, I think.
Is that Memphis?
I remember that.
The other people...
It didn't last long.
Why not?
Because it was the shits. That's one reason. So if you see yourself in a situation where there's not much upside to it, cut the cord early. Go do something else. Go actually get a job. That might have helped, but sometimes in some of these wrestling companies, they just know there's no hope for them.
A couple more people who are in. So Alexandra York, Michael Wall Street, Terrence Taylor, Richard Morton, Thomas Rich, and Mr. Hughes, Curtis Hughes. I mean, I've interviewed most of these people, quite frankly. Do you know, Curtis Hughes really surprised me as an interviewee. He was really good. He was full of personality. He was great.
Yeah, he was good and good in the ring.
I think you're right. He's a bit underrated, especially as a super heavyweight, and he moved really well. And surprisingly, he got his start in Kansas City with Bob Geigel, apparently.
And how long did he stay with that?
Not long. Who's waving at you?
Oh, my wife.
No. Yeah, he didn't stay there long, and then he got into WCW. Any stories about Mr. Curtis Hughes?
Brother, he could stink a plane up.
Go on.
We got on there, and we were way in the back. Like, it's, you got your first class, then you got your business class, then a smaller class, and then you got your third class, I guess.
Scum class.
Well, it was 3 seats on one side and 3 seats on the other, I guess. Brother, he cut one. And it took its time and it worked its way back. By the time it got to the second or third seat, you'd hear like, Jesus. Jesus Christ, who did? Oh, my God. And we're sitting there, and I think it's me and Ricky. And we're sitting like this, like, oh God, it's coming. And it kept coming about halfway down. Oh my God, who did that? Who's this? Because we knew probably who did it. And then it finally worked its way about 10 seconds back to us. It was god awful. Oh, and finally, that's when we did have a wrestler's court the next week. and he had to suffer.
What was his sentence? Do you remember? Like a court?
I think he walking. That would have been a good sentence for him.